Good morning. Hi, it's Lynn from Cheese and Yogurt Making, and we continue our series of counties of cheesemakers across England. And today I'm chatting with Simon from Lacey Cheese up in North Yorkshire. Hi, good morning, Simon. Hello.
Hi, good morning, Lynn. How are you?
I'm good. How are you doing?
Yeah, I'm really good, thank you.
Okay, so I'm just going to start by asking, what made you wake up one morning and think, today I'm going to make cheese? How did it start for you?
Well, weirdly, it wasn't that sort of way for me, because when I left school, I'm 50 years old now. When I left school, I actually went to catering college and trained as a patisserie chef. And my little claim to fame was I actually trained with James Martin at Scarborough College. And then my very first chefing job was in a little tiny village about 10 miles up in the Dales called Lowrow. And I was chef there for many years. And being in the food industry, I've worked for big companies, small companies. I used to write recipes. So I've always been in the food industry. And then I noticed a job as a basic sort of like cheese hand at a local company called Swelled Cheese Company over 20 years ago now. And I started there, and the owner that's sadly passed away now, me and David had the same taste in music. We're both chefs. We both had a bit of a history, and we both had a bit of a desire for cheese and cheese making and stuff like that. So I learned a lot from him, and really, really enjoyed the job. And then it ended up being where I was head cheesemaker after a number of years, and I was the manager there. And then I got the opportunity to start up a small cheese business in an old railway station in Richmond in North Yorkshire, 2006. So a big community project, and there was a brewery down there, bread maker and ice cream maker. And I was there for about 9 years making cheese. And then I moved just over 6 years ago, further up the Dales into a little village called Reeth, and in a place called the Dale Centre. And I've been making cheese now and teaching cheese making up here for just over 6 years. Yeah, so it's the sort of thing that time goes very quickly. Even so, cheese goes very slowly. Your time goes very quickly, you know. So yeah, that's what sort of got me into it. I didn't wake up one day and go, "Oh, I want to make cheese."
Right.
It was the sort of thing that I sort of got into, and then I've never got out of it. And I suspect I'll stay in it for the rest of my life.
Yeah, it sounds like you will. Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, so lots of experience, and like you say, it's in your blood, and it's what you do. And you're a trained chef as well. That's interesting. I didn't know that. So that's absolutely brilliant. So who do you work with there, Simon? What's your setup? Is it just you, or is there
Yeah, basically. So what it is what I've tried to do over the years with different, from a business point of view, right? So from a business point of view, I've had staff and them sort of things, and the businesses will know that it's quite hard work when you've got staff and them sometimes. And I've always wanted to have a business where I can pretty much control everything I do myself. And at certain times of the year when it's busy, I have people that help me out on farmers markets and sell. But, you know, everyone will feel this who are in businesses. A lot of people, they just don't have the passion and drive that you have as a small, when it's yours. And people, and I speak to lots of small producers, and I see this a lot. So, you know, we will put the hours in, we will think a little bit differently. We will get off our phones when we have a customer coming by. You know, we really give a damn, and other people don't seem to get that sometimes. And what's happened over the years is I've sort of managed to make it so I can pretty much have a really quite a successful business and do most of it myself. You know, apart from obviously I have my wife who has a proper job. And she helps me out on some of the farmers markets at the weekend. And, you know, I have a couple of people, older guys that have been on courses with me who I've got to know, who occasionally will help me out when it's really busy at Christmas in the summertime on certain shows. But with the cheese making, them sort of things, I've got it down to a bit of a T, really. So, but I do work a lot of hours, you know.
Do you? Yeah.
Yeah.
I should imagine you do, but like you say, it's a passion, isn't it? And, you know, it's more than, it's not a 9 to 5. But you've obviously got the balance right, and that's fantastic.
Yeah, well, the thing is, it is because what happens is, as a small business, you take more stuff on, and then the balance becomes skewed where you're doing too much work, and then you have to readdress the balance and think, right, okay, moving forward, right, what do I do to make things better for the business, better for me, better for my family? because you can work all the hours you want, but the most important thing for me is my family and providing and having a good life. And it is getting that balance, but because you don't like to say no to customers, you quite quickly that balance skews over to being very work-based as opposed to being 50 equal. So I try my best to, at the start of the year, and I learn every year, right, how to make this a bit more better, how do I give myself a bit more time with the family, but still have a good business. And it doesn't happen overnight. I've been working for myself for 15, 16 years now, and it takes time to get that, But and it's always looking at the business model as well. It's changing when you need to change. You can't sit and just rest on your laurels because the world's changing around you. So you have to sort of adapt, and that's what I try and do anyway.
Yeah, absolutely. It sounds like you've nailed that now. Like you say, it takes time. Let's talk a little bit about your cheeses then. So tell me what cheeses you make there and which are the most popular, and just go through what cheeses you make.
Yeah, so predominantly being in Yorkshire, we make traditional sort of farmhouse Wensleydales, but not the Wensleydales that you sort of see in the supermarkets that have become a lot more commercialised, vacuum sealed, stuff like that. So we make the more natural rind Wensleydales. We do a bit of cheddar, we do a bit of blue, we do a bit of soft cheese as well, but only enough really to sell in the farmers markets. But predominantly, we're making more the traditional Yorkshire cheese that was made up in the Dales 200-400 years ago. We tend to age our Wensleydales anything from, and this is a personal thing, from anything from around about 4 weeks to about 7 weeks, because I like it me personally, I like it that sort of way, and my customers have got to like it that way. And I make a couple of flavours of cheese. However, they're not blended cheeses like the commercial stuff. We are direct in the vat. So, we do a crab black pepper cheese, a fresh garlic and chive. I do an olive cheese. I do a chili cheese. But these are all, like you say, fresh ingredients, dry herbs, mixed through the vat at the salting stage at the end. And then they're left to mature with them products. And so there's no colours or there's no added flavours or sugars or sweeteners. It's just what it is really, and my customers seem to like it, so that's good.
It sounds fantastic. There's a really good range there, and I saw all that on your website. Do you sell through the website? Where can we buy your cheese? Where can we find you?
Yeah, so I before COVID, the dreaded COVID word, I used to do around about 13 farmers markets a month. We're down to I think about 7 now a month. So we the great thing about being where I am, so I care about my customers. So on a January market when it's absolutely peeing down, and some companies, if they're not making lots of money, won't turn up for a farmer's market, I will always be there, because the way I see it is, if you can turn up to a lot of these Yorkshire market towns on a crappy day in February, and Mrs. Smith will come out and she'll buy one piece of Wensleydale off you once a month. Quite quickly, if you're not there, they will go elsewhere. And it's also it's showing them that you're committed to them, and they will show loyalty back to you. So I tend to do markets. I'm based near Richmond in North Yorkshire, so I go as far up as Newcastle and down to sort of Helmsley and sort of Easenwold, Thirsk way for farmers markets. And then I go across east to the coast, so like Saltburn-on-Sea and them sort of little towns. But we have a really good loyal following, and we've been doing it for a long time, and people like that. They get to know your family, we get to know them. And that means a lot to people, especially nowadays when you go into virtually every other shop or you deal with any other customer service. It's really quite poor, a lot of it. So people find it quite refreshing when they speak to someone and they can actually have a conversation with someone, as opposed to beep, 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 and would you like a bag with that? And a lot of that nowadays that's even going. You just got to do it yourself.
Yeah,
so
I know.
We lose that disconnect with lots of things, don't we, really? And and it's a funny thing, because you'd think from saying that, well, you'd only have older customers, but actually I've got a lot of younger customers, this sort of like early 20s to early 30s, who really moving back to understanding food and where stuff comes from, and that's lovely. That's really, really good to see, really good to see.
That's fantastic. That's really, I love hearing that. That's really, really good. And can I just now to ask you about your cheese making courses? I've seen them on the website. I know you do these courses, and a lot of people will be interested in how they can get involved in making cheese for the first time, or perhaps the second or third time. So where are those held? How do you organise those?
Yeah, so we've been doing courses for about 8 years now. That was one of the reasons why I moved from the railway station in Richmond to up here, because I needed a bigger premise to expand that. So we run small classes up to around about 8 to 10 people, depending on if they're one group or mixed groups. And we, in that one of our 500-litre cheese vats, people come in the morning, they spend 7 hours here. So it's not a day where you are making a little bit of soft cheese in the bucket. You're stepping into the world of what I would do. And we're making cheese, albeit with stainless steel and plastic cheese molds. We're doing it exactly the same way as how it was made in the Dales 200, 300, 400 years ago. Albeit cheesemaking is very chemistry, is very science. So we do touch on, titration, and we do touch on the chemistry behind it, because you have to do that. But we try and do it so you come into our place for the day. We make a host of soft cheeses, then we go on to make hard cheeses. And we send you away with a recipe, and you can buy cheese making kits if you want to. But it gives you them little nuances where you see a recipe and you think, well, I always say to people on the course, when you are told to fold in sugar into a meringue, if you've never done it before, you think, well, what does that bloody mean? I don't know what that means.
Yeah.
We teach you these little tips and tricks that when you look at a recipe, these are the things that you look for, because following a recipe in cheese making, that doesn't work, because all the way through the year, the milk changes. I always say on courses, we have things that we can control on cheese making. They are our probes, our vessels, our heat. There's things we have no control over. So, your milk, your starter cultures, your rennet, the atmosphere, the humidity. And I always describe it as, if you can imagine having like a little sort of thing, having an equalizer for a stereogram, and how to put all the little sliders to make that record sound perfect. And every morning you come in and you sort of know where they are, but some buggers put them back down to the bottom, and you've got to readjust it slightly. So following a recipe where it says, oh, give it half an hour, now cut the curd, and then get another 15 minutes and do that. Sometimes you just need to leave it a couple of minutes before or afterwards. And I teach people on the courses what to look for. These are the things without the chemistry sets of how you can do it at home. And sort of what my goal for these people is that they can go away and they can safely make a piece of cheese, and they be happy with that. Then I'm not that worried about them having the consistency, because that's the great thing about making something that's artisan, is it's slightly changing all the time. And if you're happy with that, it's safe. Well, do you know what? That's a really exciting thing. We shouldn't always be homogenized. Me, I'm a little bit different, because I have customers that expect this and expect that. But I still like the fact of it slightly changes. The milk changes through the seasons, and I just show people these sort of things, and people see. And I disperse it with. We have our wax pans on, so people learn to wax cheese. I get the cheese irons out, so they learn how to grade cheese, what to look for, and they cut cheese, and they eat a lot of cheese, and it's just a fun 7 hours where they step into my world. And nowadays, a lot of people work in jobs where they get given something, they do a little bit of it, they pass it to something else. They never really see the start or the end of it. The lovely thing about what I do is, if I choose to, I can watch the cows being milked, follow the lassie up with the milk, make the cheese, look after it for 6-12 months, take it to the farm market, and watch it being sold. So not lots of people nowadays have that luxury in the job. And we have the kettle on, we have a bit of jazz music playing, and we just slow down, and we just work with the cheese, if you see what I mean. And people like it, and I like it as well. And that's what is the great thing. And we get, you see them, they come in, we'll have 4 groups of couples come in, and no one knows anyone, and them sort of things. But within an hour, we're all working together as a team, and that is really cool. And that is, it's because, again, what it is a lot of us, we get so disconnected in this world of ordering stuff online and never seeing anyone anymore. And then you come in, and it's just nice to actually just be part of something and get that, watching people turn 500 litres of milk into a product at the end of the day with a little bit of science and a little bit of this, a bit of that. People love it. They just love it, you know what I mean? And I love the fact that they love it, so. And as a business, it's about, I started in 2006. I've never once put my price per kilo cheese up in 15 years.
Wow.
Never once. It's the same price per kilo now as it was back then. And I do that because I take a 3 kilo round of cheese, and how do I add more value to that without basically putting the price up? when everything else around us is going up constantly, you know, and we do that, and it works, and I'm very open and transparent about that. And I say, look, you come up here, you pay your money, but you go away and hopefully have a great day. You'll think it's worthwhile, and that's that, because then what it means is I have to buy more local milk, of which I'm giving them a better price per litre than the gate price is. And I go to a farmer's market into a lot of the northeast towns where we are, they're not as affluent as some of the southern towns. Right. Single people at a certain age, I can afford to be incredibly competitive with my price. And that means a lot to me. So it's this big circle, isn't it? You know what I mean? And if you can do that and make a living, why not? You know?
Absolutely. It's
totally
brilliant. What you said is just really inspiring and just such a lovely thing to do. I love it. I love what I'm hearing. And it's great to know you're still out there, and let's get more people making cheese.
Yeah, well, do you know what, this gift experience thing about nowadays, where, and what's really lovely is we hear this a lot on courses, and you know, I had over 400 people in 2019 on courses, and this year the book's going to be full again, and people are thinking a lot of people's thoughts are changing, where they're thinking, I don't want to have physically this, I'd rather go and do something. And when they're coming then into these little places, and they're searching out these little producers, and there could be food producers or going and walking a llama, what they're doing is, and what's really important is, they are supporting local industries, of which is hugely important, you know what I mean? Because when you drive up to the Dales and it's just full of glamping sites, but there's not a single cow anywhere, you think to yourself, well, you know, you got to get that balance. Again, it's balance, isn't it? There's nothing wrong with that, but it's about that balance, and we're just trying to be part of that, you know, and that's all really.
Oh, it's fantastic. Everything you said is just really inspiring. I love the way you've explained it. So, okay, everyone, this is Simon, Lacey's Cheese, up in North Yorkshire. Look him up. Simon, thank you so much for chatting today.
Hey, thank you, Lynn.
You've really explained what you've done well, and it really is an inspiration.
I talk a lot, so I apologise.
No, it's fantastic. Thank you so much. And we'll catch up again soon. Thanks, Simon.
Take care.
Take care. Thank you. Bye-bye.